Good morning, and welcome to everybody. Now, what I wanted to do is just talk to you a little bit about the background for why we created One Young World and what it is over the next 15 minutes. And I guess probably I'm a bit of an optimist, and I think we have an incredibly exciting future ahead of us. And one of the reasons for that is I think the world is moving into a place where it understands we're coming out of a financial and economic meltdown, which kind of showed us that the pursuit of profit for profit's sake actually leads to a pretty bad place. I think we're also incredibly lucky to have this young generation, and many of whom are represented in the room today, who are way smarter, way more informed, and way more realistic in many respects than any young generation that has gone before them, and will actually force us to be much more socially responsible. So I think the good news is that I think we're moving into a world which is going to become much more socially responsible. I think probably one of the fastest growing trends in business before the economic and financial meltdown was business becoming more socially responsible, and that has actually accelerated it. And I think the key thing and the critical thing we're seeing is people being genuine about it. So I think the good news for me is we're moving into a world where socially responsible behaviour is going to be at the core of business strategy. And I think this cover from The Economist kind of sums up, where we all were about 12, 18 months ago with the world on edge. And I think we're starting to come out of that and we're moving into a better space. Today, consumers now expect companies to give back as much as they take. And we did a big global study last year, well, actually just before the financial meltdown, and 86% of people said it's important that companies stand for something other than just profitability. And I think the key thing today is that the digital and social revolution has given consumers the power to punish those companies that don't live up to those standards and expectations. And you couldn't have a better example of that or poster child than BP. Many of you may have followed a person, somebody tweeting behind the handle at BP Global PR, a guy or a pseudonym by the name of Leroy Stick. This is one little individual who ended up with 180,000 people following him on Twitter, and the might of BP, one of the biggest corporations in the world, had 10,000. And I think it shows you that the power of an individual against the corporation today. And here's just one example of the many funny things that he wrote. But safety is our primary concern. Well, profits then safety. Oh no, profits image then safety. But hey, still, it's right up there. And I think this other stat from our research kind of sums it up. 80% of consumers believe today that they have the responsibility to censor unethical companies by avoiding their products. And they also believe that business bears as much responsibility as government in effecting positive change. In fact, one of the other big findings in our study was that a lot of people are disillusioned with the world's political leaders and the decisions they're taking, but they feel that they can actually influence business to change by voting with their wallets. I think the other good thing is that a lot of business leaders, or the more progressive business leaders, are actually starting to set the example. Walmart is a great case in point. 10 years ago viewed as this big, boring American monolith and not a great reputation, totally re-engineered their business in a genuine way, have done more probably than any other business in the world to change the supply chain of every company in America, because when the world's biggest company is asking you to change the way you make things, you're not going to do one good run for Walmart and a bad run for everybody else. And they've really kind of stepped out in leadership. And Mike Duke, the CEO, says, sustainability is not optional, it's an opportunity to step out in leadership. And interestingly, I was at the Clinton Global Initiative yesterday in New York, and the CMO, the SVP for marketing of Walmart, actually ended up crying at the end of the session on sustainability. Whether you think that's a good or a bad thing, I think that it actually shows how much he cares about it. Again, going back to our survey, 70% of business leaders actually believe that sustainability and CSR can give them competitive advantage. And I think that's one of the key themes for business. It's not just about doing good. It's actually about doing well, making more money at the same time as doing good. And Walmart quoted that they've saved 60%, $200 million is the cost that they've saved by making their fleet more efficient and more sustainable over the last 5 years. 79% of business leaders, believe that corporate responsibility is a cost of doing business in today's world. And I think, there's some great leadership examples. One of the people I'm particularly impressed with is Paul Polman. I mean, we talked a little bit about BP and how it was all about image rather than reality. The CEO of Unilever has gone out and said, we are going to double our revenue and reduce our carbon footprint, and has made that, what he's saying to shareholders, what it is the key thing that's on their website. So it's really about putting socially responsible behavior at the core of business strategy. Coke, with their commitment 2020, reducing carbon emissions by 15-20%, massive reductions in the amount of water that they're using, recycling of packaging. So we're seeing the biggest companies in the world take this very seriously. GE, Jeff Immelt, the CEO of GE, saying this is not an advertising, employer marketing gimmick. We want to do this because it's right, but we also want to do it and make money at it. Branson, we're doing this as a charity. We aren't doing this as a charity, sorry. We want to prove you can make money at it. Bart Beck, one of our global clients, it's important we understand that saving money and saving the environment need not be mutually exclusive. So against that kind of context and background where, I think we're in a world where some of the pioneers and leaders are getting there. There's a lot of businesses who aren't yet. And one of the challenges is where do you play? And I love Venn diagrams. I kind of write and create a Venn diagram on a daily basis. And this is my patented Venn diagram of how you should play if you want to be more socially responsible as a business. And if you look on the left-hand circle at what is a genuine, incredible role for the brand or business, and on the right-hand circle, what are the real issues that consumers care about, where those two things overlap is where you should play. And we sort of, took our own advice on this and said, well, what should we be doing? Because if we're going to be telling our clients that you need to be more socially responsible, that the most successful companies in the future will be those that are the most socially responsible, then they're going to say, yeah, that's great, David and Kate, but what are you doing about it? So hence we kind of took a bit of our own medicine. We said, well, our whole thing is about being the most future-focused communications group in the world. We want to understand more about the future of media, of brands, of consumers, and help lead our clients into that new world. And so what better way to do that than to actually harness the power of the brilliant young people in the world to give them a platform to affect positive change. My belief is that our industry and the advertising and communications industry is actually very good at changing people's behavior. But we don't need to use that skill just to get them to buy product A rather than product B. We can actually use that skill set to get people to change their behavior around some of the big issues facing the world. And that was kind of background as to why we created One Young World. The goal is very simple. If the world's leaders can't always make the right decisions, then maybe the brilliant young people of the world can help them get there. And how do we harness the power of youth to affect positive change? And I think, we often say that things are really different, because it's good to say things are different because it gets much more interest and coverage than when you say it's the same as it always was. And often it's not different. But I think we really are dealing with an incredibly unique generation of young people today. Digital technology and the internet has given them access to a level of knowledge and information that is unlike anything that has gone before. I mean, when I was at school, basically the level of education you got depended upon how good your school was and how good your teacher was. And if you were particularly, interested, you could take some extra books home and read them. Today, wherever you are in the world, if you have an internet connection, you have unlimited access to everything. So it's created a generation who are incredibly smart and knowledgeable. And I think that was one of the things that blew Kate and I away, and all of the counsellors. I mean, just watching the reaction of people like Kofi Annan, Desmond Tutu, Bob Geldof, Mohammed Yunus to the brilliance of the young people in London early this year was amazing. And I think the other thing that digital technology and the social revolution has done, it has given them an amazing ability to affect positive change. And I think those two things, we were at a leaving do for somebody who we were moving to be the CEO of our New York agency. And there were the kind of new 21-year-old grads there. And we said, it's interesting because 10, 15 years ago, it would all have been the senior people in the company preaching to the young people in the company and being the ones who had all the knowledge. And the whole world had shifted because it was the old people in the room asking the brilliant 21-year-olds, well, how are you doing with this? And what's going on with this? And talk to me about this. So probably the best demonstration of the brilliance of these young people is not me saying it, is actually watching this video, which is the highlights of One Young World 2010 in February this year.
I'm here to find out why we're not being successful at making peace with other religions.
I want to create peace in my country because I live in conflict.
To make the youth the real future of my country.
And we're absolutely delighted to welcome you to this inaugural One Young World.
Welcome to London.
You dream dreams and you say, let us make poverty history.
All progress throughout the world is made by unreasonable people. I'm going to ask you over the next 2 or 3 days to be completely unreasonable people.
Only if we act, we can create the world that we want.
There are certain things about global business that are seen to be good and certain things about global business that are seen to be very bad. And I think, one of the things that you guys can help play a key role in is how we make global business more socially responsible.
I would call upon corporations to rethink about their roles in society.
The importance of doing good in business will be just as important as doing well in business.
So that's fantastic. We have our first ever One Young World resolution passed.
It's absolutely vital that we all, every single one of us, take a personal, concrete action away with us.
I'm sorry about my bad hair day.
That's why I was given to introduce it.
There is no religion out there that encourages its followers to attack or murder those of other religions.
As a Muslim at the moment, I feel like we're constantly being called upon to justify what other people are doing.
Umuntu, ngumuntu, ngabantu. A person is a person by other people.
Why can we not make it a priority to provide antiretroviral medications to every single person in Africa that suffers from HIV/AIDS?
If we that suffer the most from this conflict can sit together and talk, so why everyone else cannot do it?
Together, this forum can change the world.
Whenever you feel a strong sense of right and wrong, talk out of turn, and the world will thank you.
I've been very much inspired by you guys.
You are the leaders of tomorrow, and you can be the change you want to see.
I'm embarking on an expedition in late March to attempt to become the youngest person to ski to the geographic North Pole.
And you must also remember that leaders, good leaders, are also good followers. If they don't lead, you should make them follow.
We really, 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 really want you to influence the world's leaders and to effect positive change.
That's why we're here. Go home and make it happen.
Let me thank David and Kate and Euro Air CG for the work they've done.
Hundreds of young people from all over the world are meeting in London today for the first ever summit of a youth movement called One Young World.
The world's press played their part in making the voices of the new generation heard around the world. One Young World is a global movement that doesn't end here. Because of it, our future leaders have found their voice, and the conversation continues.
It is up to us to give a voice to those who couldn't speak for themselves.
So that gives you a little flavour of what will be coming to Zurich in September 2011. This slide, just to say the incredible support that we got from the world of business. What we wanted to do was keep sponsorship at a pretty low level. And the way people got involved, they actually sponsored delegates to attend from all over the world. We had 800 people from over 100 countries, and our goal is to go up to one person at least from every single country in the world. The way the whole thing works, and will work for 2011 and worked in 2010, the recruitment process was through a combination of a YouTube channel and people uploading videos to YouTube as to why they should be a One Young World delegate. and then also through Facebook, applications submitted through Facebook. And really the kind of key criteria were we wanted people who were under 25, people who were social entrepreneurs and were really doing good things and affecting positive change in the world, and people who kind of qualitatively had just something a little bit special, a little bit extra. And obviously we were also looking for people from every single country in the world rather than kind of populating it with a bunch of people from Europe or North America. And that was one of the objectives we delivered on. We have now over 10,000 people as fans on the Facebook site. There are over 100 different groups. Everybody created One Young World, African Nations, One Young World, Middle East, so this could actually live on in social media. And all we wanted to do was give them a platform rather than be in charge of trying to make everything happen. And then I thought I'd just quickly step through some of the tangible things that have happened as a result of One Young World. Parker actually made it to the geographic North Pole. He didn't get all the way on skis. They had to do a bit on helicopters. Why? Because with the ice caps melting, there was a part that they couldn't actually ski across because it was water. So he's going to go back again this year and try and get there on skis. But he made it just with a part by helicopter. Couple of tangible examples. The missing Millennium Development Goal. This is some of the brilliant One Young World ambassadors who said the Millennium Development Goals are great. One of the ones that is not on the list is, there's so much war in the world carried out in the name of religion. So they created what they call the Missing Millennium Development Goal, all about interfaith dialogue. And they flew to the United Nations meeting last week. On the 17th of September, Ban Ki-moon had them open a session all about interfaith dialogue. Everything from Erin Schroeder, one of the One Young World ambassadors, who's created the school bag program in Haiti about giving school bags out to the kids so that they can actually continue to have their education. There's a terrific project from other ambassadors in Jamaica where kids had been dying because they were playing on this tip, so they created a football pitch so it could get them away from playing in the rubbish tip and actually playing soccer. Another great initiative in Bahrain, Crowd Voice, about giving people a platform to speak out on issues that they care about, and through social media have people vote and share and come on board with them. Pedaling for Peace in Australia was an initiative all about getting people from every single religion together, 10,000 people on a major bike ride across Australia. So in 2011, we're incredibly excited. You saw the calibre of the councillors that we had last year. There's actually a couple sitting in the room, Carol at the back and Bill down here as well, who didn't make the cut on the video but were equally as important. So, this is just a few of the people who'll be coming back. Bob Geldof, who was such a terrific councillor for us in 2010. Mohammed Yunus, similarly. Oscar Morales, who is probably the mascot councillor. For those of you who don't know Oscar, he created a movement against the FARC, the Colombian terrorist organisation, on Facebook that led to over 15 million people marching in 40 cities around the world. An amazing guy. Mo Abraham, who's kind of probably doing an enormous amount, or more than anybody, and sort of putting mobile technology and telephony through Africa, and was actually just named as he won the main award at the Clinton Global Initiative in New York this week. And Fatima Bhutto, who's kind of somebody who has seen more violence, death and murder than anybody deserves to in their lifetime, who is a huge advocate despite that for peace. So and another terrific councillor, and with Thomas and I, a fellow young global leader at the World Economic Forum, Prince Haakon of Norway, and the creator of the Global Dignity Day.